Hey there YouTube, welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So, we're back on the Gambler today, and it's one of those things where we're going to look at the difference of having no sway bars working, having just a front sway bar, and having both sway bars working. So sway bars are by far my favorite suspension upgrade. Like the G8 is lowered on iBox springs, and it's one of those things where I don't so much mind when a car is lowered as long as it's lowered properly and aligned. And visually, you know, having that big gap over the tires and stuff like that goes away, so it can look a little bit better. Having the car look like it's lower can make it look like it's faster. But for me, for when you're going around corners, nothing helps like a sway bar. Especially not affecting your normal everyday riding. So with lowering springs, you may hit bumps and stuff like that. They may be a little bit more harsh. You know, the ride might be a little bit compromised compared to what it used to be on the stock springs, but just slapping in a bigger bar can make a big difference in your cornering with a stock suspension. That way you get a nice comfortable ride that's only minimally impacted with the sway bars, because there is still some impact. So if you go with a bigger bar, as long as everything's equal, so if this is a solid bar and that's a solid bar, this much thicker bar should give higher spring rate between the two sides. So when one side hits a bump, that will transfer through the sway bar and bring a little bit of force over here. Now that makes the ride just a little bit stiffer, but not as stiff as, say, lowering springs that have a higher spring rate. And the Gambler, being a Acura TL Type S, has a little bit more sporty bars on it than a factory TL would. This one was super duper rusty, and then I kind of painted it just to kind of fix it up. And then that other bar is just another bar that I got sitting around for another project. It's really kind of interesting to see that in the first one, it was able to track within the same circle. And I think a lot of that is because we weren't overwhelming the tires. So this does have kind of older tires on it. They're pretty wore and definitely showing signs of degradation. So it's kind of one of those things where your tires make a really big difference too. But with everything like leaning over really hard in the first one, we're able to see that the car was able to keep pulling the exact same circles while going about 15 miles an hour without an issue, and it felt like I was getting thrown in the center of the car pretty good. Then with the front sway bar in, it actually felt like I had a reduced amount of throw to the side, but you can kind of see that the car was kind of moving to the side more and more and more and more, and I think what was happening was we were actually overwhelming the tires, and it was starting to slide. Then the last one, it was about the same thing. So definitely overwhelming the tires, and I could actually hear the tires actually start to like let loose a little bit. And then I, you know, stomped it at the end just to see if there was I get something to swing out. And apparently, the only thing that wanted to swing out was just the front end. So, severe understeer. Oversteer would have been if the rear end came around. A really big rear sway bar can cause oversteer in a front-wheel drive car, especially in a corner, and then when you tap the brakes, because it'll light load the rear, and the rear can come around on you, which is a hoot. And when I did a similar video in the Astra, I'm pretty sure the Astra didn't have enough power and weight to overwhelm its tires, whereas the Gambler is a pretty big car with a lot of weight in the front with the V6, a much longer wheelbase than the Astra was, and the Astra had a higher performance set of tires at the time, whereas these, I believe, are just almost like a standard set of tires, which is why this thing will chirp second with an automatic. For me, I do really like sway bars and how they kind of help the car corner. They help with everyday driving, so every time you make a turn, you're using those, and you're able to feel that change that you put in it. And even though I only really put on like the stock bars on this one and just got them working properly, it does make a huge difference in a car. So if you've got weak bars and you want to be able to handle a little bit tighter, you know, go around a corner a little bit faster, this can help out. The big thing you have to watch though is if the weight of the car and the tires that you currently have can actually support you going around the corner in that manner. Which is why my GMC Sonoma with the giant sway bars off of a Monte Carlo runs 275 tires. So it can take a corner like you would not believe. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time. Little baby 215 tires.